Karachi, a city of 20 million souls, built against the Arabian Sea, pulsing with energy, ambition, and relentless motion. Once called the City of Lights. Today, a city fighting just to stay alive. It feeds the nation's economy, powers its industries, drives its commerce, and fills its treasury. Yet at home, behind shuttered doors, dark streets, and frustrated neighborhoods, Karachi's struggle for things so basic that they should never be luxuries: gas, electricity, clean water, and safety. Step inside an ordinary Karachi home at sunrise. Parents preparing for another day of work. Children getting ready for school. Yet everything pauses for a question that should not define modern life. Is there gas today? Often the answer is silence. Stoves cold. Kettles idle. Families waiting for pressure that may never come. Gas pipelines run beneath Karachi's soil, and its port handles energy that powers the nation. But within the homes built above those very pipelines, there is nothing to cook with. Households wake up at 5 a.m., hoping for a whisper of gas pressure. The flame flickers weakly, then dies. In winter, pressure collapses completely. In summer, supply vanishes again. Even Ramadan, a month centered on family meals and shared food, brings no special relief. Gas has ceased to be a public utility. It has become a gamble. And where utility fails, the market takes over. Families turn to LPG cylinders, often at prices that exceed a weekly wage. In lower-income districts, these cylinders become the only option. Mothers and elderly residents, forced to manage heavy metal canisters and unreliable connections, carry a risk no one budgets for: explosions, leaks, and faulty valves that turn kitchens into hazards. Even in better-off neighborhoods like DHA, Clifton, or PC Chess, residents queue for deliveries or call multiple vendors in search of supply. In industrial and middle-class belts, Karanji, New Karachi, Sirjani, Liaquatabad, the situation is worse. Workers and daily wagers cannot afford cylinders at all. Tea stalls and tandoors shut down at dawn when the flame dies. In Karachi, gas arrives not on a schedule, but on luck. Electricity should be the backbone of any global metropolis. Yet in Karachi, electricity is a rotating visitor, showing up when it pleases, disappearing whenever demand rises, rain falls, or systems falter. The city that never sleeps now lies awake because generators roar all night long. Small children study beneath emergency lamps. Freelancers lose income as laptops die mid-shift. Shopkeepers turn customers away because their refrigerators stop cooling. Industries spend more on diesel than salaries. When power leaves, life pauses. When rainstorms hit, it stops completely. In these moments, Karachi is not a megacity. It becomes a scattered web of islands running on backup power. Many households pay bills that do not reflect the service they receive, monthly payments that match cities with stable 24-hour electricity. Yet Karachi gets outages stretching 8, 10, even 12 hours a day. In neighborhoods marked as loss-making by the power company, often due to infrastructure theft the residents did not commit, load shedding becomes punishment. In wealthier blocks, the grid tries to keep up, but even there, the system buckles as transformers overload and feeders trip. When heat waves arrive, electricity cuts amplify the danger, senior citizens faint, hospitals strain under pressure, and work-from-home routines collapse instantly. Karachi has become a city where reliable electricity is no longer a right, it is a privilege. And then comes the crisis that touches every Karachi daily, regardless of class, district, or wealth: water. A city built beside the ocean is thirsty, and thirst has rewritten Karachi's way of life. The numbers are stark. Karachi needs over 1,200 million gallons of potable water every day. It receives barely half. That means millions of residents wake up already deprived. But this is not just a story of shortage. It is a story of mismanagement, corruption, and broken governance. Tankers rumble through the streets at dawn, selling water by the container. Families, housing societies, and even private schools depend on these trucks. Not because they want to, but because they must. In many neighborhoods, Water tanker deliveries come every week or every few days, consuming a major share of household income. In others, the trucks do not arrive at all and residents carry buckets from community taps or stand in hour-long queues. Those who cannot afford either are left with unsafe water pulled from wells, boreholes, or rusted pipes. In the poorest districts of Lyre, Orangi, Baldia, and Karangi, entire children grow up on contaminated water infused with sewage and industrial runoff. Diseases spread quietly: diarrhea, stomach infections, skin conditions. Hospitals see the consequences every day, but the pipelines remain unchanged. In areas assumed to be immune, DHA, Clifton, Bahadurabad, Gulshan, the picture is barely better. Tap water runs one day, shuts off the next. Construction booms continue, but water infrastructure lags decades behind. Illegal hydrants carve unauthorized connections from city mains. Entire communities steal water to survive because formal supply is inadequate or absent. Pumping stations strand millions whenever power fails. Meanwhile, costly water infrastructure, like the K4 project, has languished under political disputes, delayed budgeting, and shifting responsibility between municipal, provincial, and federal authorities. Karachi is left parched, while officials argue over ownership. Behind these crises is the unspoken contradiction that defines Karachi. This city produces the largest share of Pakistan's revenue. It is a trade hub, a port city, a manufacturing center, the headquarters of banking and finance, and a magnet for domestic migration. Karachi feeds the national economy. Yet ask any resident what the city receives in return, and they will point to dry taps, dark homes, crumbling roads, choked drainage, overflowing garbage, and failing transit systems. Karachi gives its best to Pakistan. Pakistan returns very little to Karachi. Why does a city that drives a nation stand neglected? Part of the answer lies in governance fragmentation. Karachi has multiple overlords: federal ministries, Sindh provincial authorities, city administrations, district councils, cantonment boards, autonomous utilities, and private service firms all control pieces of the system, and none take full responsibility. If everything belongs to everyone, then nothing belongs to anyone. And everyday people pay the price. The cost is financial, but also emotional and psychological. Karachi is a city full of resilient dreamers, people who came here seeking opportunity. Over generations, they built neighborhoods, businesses, institutions, markets, and industries. Yet they now face a slow-motion decline in living standards, losses measured not in policy documents, but in human frustration. Mothers storing buckets of water because taps run dry. Students trying to learn through nights lit by candles. Workers sweating in powerless rooms while heat soars. Patients suffering in hospitals when machines stall. These stories do not make headlines, but they're the daily truth of millions. And the silent toll continues. Each outage, each dry tap, each empty gas stove pushes Karachites further into despair. The expectation that a city should function, should provide basic services, has eroded. Citizens adapt where the state fails, buying generators, installing water tanks, drilling expensive boreholes, purchasing cylinders, and hiring tankers. Karachi survives not because systems work, but because the people refuse to surrender. Yet beneath hardship, one fact remains: no modern nation can thrive while its economic engine struggles to function. Karachi's crisis is Pakistan's crisis. The darkness in one home ripples into factories. The lack of water erodes public health. The absence of gas weakens small businesses. The failures compound, not just across streets, but across the national GDP. Listen carefully to Karachi's streets. You will hear determination, anger, exhaustion, and hope. This is not a story of defeat. It is a call for responsibility. A reminder that cities cannot be allowed to fail quietly simply because their resilience makes suffering invisible. Karachi deserves more, not by entitlement, but by contribution. This film does not stand against institutions or political parties. It speaks for citizens who have gone unheard for too long. When a city that earns more than it consumes is abandoned by its caretakers, history remembers not only what failed, but who allowed it to fail. And when citizens find their voice, when they demand fairness, when they insist that survival should not require privilege, that is when cities transform. Karachi is still a city of possibilities. It can still become what it once promised to be, but only if its struggles are acknowledged, its systems rebuilt, its management reformed, and its people respected. Silence sustains injustice. Exposure sparks accountability. If you believe that Karachi's 20 million residents deserve reliable utilities, functioning services, and dignity in their daily lives, carry this message onward. Share it. Discuss it. Hold leadership accountable. Demand transparency and fairness. Because when a nation ignores its greatest contributor, it weakens itself. And when citizens stand together, even through darkness, a city of lights can shine again. This video is based on publicly available information, investigative reporting, and first-hand accounts from residents and experts. It is not created to target or defame any individual, political party, institution, or organization. Our purpose is simple: to highlight civic concerns, amplify citizen voices, and encourage transparency, accountability, and constructive dialogue. All statistics, estimates, and descriptions reflect the most credible data available at the time of research. Viewers are encouraged to verify sources, ask questions, and participate in civil discussion. The views expressed are for educational and awareness purposes and represent a call for responsible governance, not confrontation. Thank you for joining us on this journey through a city that refuses to surrender. Karachi may struggle, but it stands tall. Its people still wake up every morning, open their shops, run their factories, drive their taxis, teach their children, and keep this nation moving. If you believe Karachi deserves better governance, better services, better futures, then don't let this video end here. Share it. Talk about it. Hold leadership accountable. Because change begins when silence ends. This city built dreams for millions. Now it's time we build dignity for Karachi. From the City of Lights, this is a message to Pakistan and to the world. Karachi is alive, Karachi is strong, and Karachi will rise again. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, stay vocal, stay human.